I feel like a lot of people have, misconceptions about how the crowd is and the dancing and all the things and the influencers and whatever. But like actually being there, like there's just regular, normal people like you and I, right? And having a great time all experiencing this together.
Hey guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast. Today we have a very familiar face on the podcast. It's been too long since she's been back, but we've got my girl at Vibe with Aid on the podcast today. My festie bestie, we just came back from Coachella, so we wanted to come together and give you guys the ultimate recap and review for my first Coachella, Aid's second. So please join me in welcoming Aid to the podcast.
Yay! I don't remember the last time I was on. It's been so long, but I'm so happy to be here.
Dude, she one of like the OGs. Aid's been on like maybe two or three times, but yeah, it's been a really long time. And yeah, there's nobody I would rather recap Coachella with than Aid. We just had quite the weekend and still have a little bit of party girl, sick voice, the energy. You know, we're going to bring you guys the energy though and spill the tea on how it was. But before we dive into everything, Aid, for those who may not know you yet, can you give us like the little 411 on yourself, plug your socials, all the things?
Yes. So my name's Aid, Adriana, but everyone calls me Aid. And back in 2017, I started a music festival blog called Vibe with Aid, where I could put all my tips, experiences, all the things. And since then have grown my platform to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, just sharing tips and all the things about all the festivals you want to go to. But on the flip side, also sharing more personal development, spirituality, and healing things so you can really thrive on and off the dance floor. I'm also a life coach. So I have been running my life coaching business for 4 years now, helping ravers and festival goers have really amazing and balanced lives. And this is very synchronistic of an episode for us to kind of like be back on, for me to be back on, because Coachella was a very full circle moment for me, because my first Coachella, I went in 2017. I wasn't Vibe with Aid. I was just Aid. I was about to graduate college and I went to Coachella for the first time, and it sparked the whole reason I started creating content for the music festival community. So very full circle and synchronistic, which I'm sure we're going to get into all the things, but that's just a little bit about me to start.
Love it. Yeah, it's like crazy. If you guys know Aid, you know the journey and you know like how she's grown in this community, but it's just been really cool to watch because we connected. We literally were online friends, connected via YouTube, had so much in common. And yeah, watching Aid, like now she hosts workshops at festivals like Groove Cruise, Electric Forest, like helping people set intentions for the weekend. So it's so cool. So yeah, we had a couple moments throughout the festival where like, because what was it, 2017? You were at Coachella? Like that's been a long time. The festival has grown a lot and changed a lot since then. So she got to see kind of like that growth in the festival and have her full circle moment being like in a completely different place in her life coming back. So that was really cool to see through her eyes. But yeah, a lot of manifestations happened at this festival, which I kind of wanted to kick off since we have Miss Aid here. Maybe what our intentions were going into Coachella and then like if we fulfilled those intentions. So I don't know, Aid, do you want to start with what your intentions were going into Coachella?
Yes. And if you are ever going to a festival with me, I will always ask you, going into a festival, what are your intentions? That's just the thing I do because I love to hear from, my friends, what they want to get out of their weekend. And so it was funny on our drive down to Indio, I was asking our friend Peyton and I was asking Emma, I was like, all right, everyone, like, what are our intentions? What are we calling in for this weekend? And for me, it was really just kind of allowing the weekend to unfold and not really feel stressed and go with the flow of the weekend. I only had maybe one or two must sees. And then other than that, I just wanted to allow myself to experience and be surprised. And yeah, just really allowed the weekend to unfold was kind of my main intention. And in that was just a celebration of, having this full circle moment. Back in 2017, I had no clue what I was going to do with my life when I went to Coachella. And so just feeling this kind of full circle moment celebration of like, wow, like I'm coming back to this festival with this huge platform that I have that I'm super grateful for, but also just this deep sense of peace of knowing who I am, where I'm going. I'm about to turn 30 and I just have a really good feeling about my 30s. And I feel like this was like the perfect little dance party kind of send off as I get closer to my birthday.
Love it. Yeah, and it's Taurus season as well. She's ready to thrive, guys. Yeah, no, so we talked about it in the car. I think so my intentions into it, I said that I wanted to be seen, which is like a theme for my whole year, which kind of might sound silly because I'm on social media, but I always felt like I've put myself out there, but maybe I wasn't fully accepting that I like wanted to fully be seen by everyone. So I wasn't like fully 100% like opening up the floodgates, if you will. So I was like, with this festival, like I've been working really, really hard. Starting like March 1st, I set out a lot of like health and fitness goals for myself that I do feel like I really achieved. So like the glow up felt real. And I was like, I want to feel like seen and perceived this weekend, which was the opposite of what we're like, we do not want to be perceived at festivals. I was like, no, I want to be perceived, and just have a really good like time, feel really great energy. It was a full moon that weekend, which was really cool as well. So kind of just feel yeah, very like go with the flow and just enjoy the vibes, listen to great music, hang out with friends was kind of like the vibe going into it, just high vibes around. And I feel like I've fully achieved that. It was very nice having Aid. We had a larger group, which we'll get into, but our good friend Peyton, but Aid and I would spend the most time with each other. And it was like, sometimes it's really nice when you do a festival with just like one other person in a way, because we were very like open to whatever we felt in the moment. So it was very like good compromise. And it was like, cool, if you need to go eat right now, like go eat. If you need to sit down right now, go sit down. Maybe we need to switch up the vibe of the set. So I really liked that we were just open and fluid with like whatever we felt in the moment. We like did what felt right. So 10 out of 10, walked away feeling like really, really good, other than just being tired and sunburnt. But yeah.
Totally. And I feel like with our dynamic, it was different than Groove Cruise because we roomed together for Groove Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Because Groove Cruise, we were like working, like we had our things that we had to do, like, and then we would come together with a group. But it was actually fun for us to do this festival, just us two almost,
Mm-hmm.
along with the big group, because we are so well versed in doing festivals and we know exactly how to gauge what we need in that moment. And like you said, compromising of like, oh, I need to go take a break, I need to go get food,
Mm-hmm.
and just having that dynamic, I think, was really fun because yeah, it's just nice when you both get it and
Mm-hmm.
you're on that same level and you can have a really good kind of festival experience that way.
100%. Yeah, it's a great comparison because Groove Cruise was definitely more work involved in this. Like, I can't like thank Aid enough as well, because like when you're a content creator in this space specifically and doing this, like it is a lot of like mixing business and pleasure at the same time, and that could get overwhelming. But it's just really nice to have like a partner who's like, okay, I'll get your content shot, you get my content shot. Like, let's get it done early. We're done. Now we can go run off and have like wackadoodle time. So it's just like nice having someone rather than like bothering your friends who maybe aren't content creators and they're like, are we done yet? Like, are you guys done? You don't have that pressure. It's like removed with each other. So that's very, very nice when we travel together.
Oh my god, that's so crazy. As you're saying that, I'm getting the ear ringing.
No way.
I don't know what that means. The woo woo in us.
There was a lot of woo woo things happening. I was telling Aid like leading up until that. There's like a lot of cool things happening right now, but I was like, I've been getting so much ear ringing, so many angel numbers, like all that shit, like very much alignment right now. And that was very felt, especially with the full moon on Saturday. We were like, girl, my period came. It was just, we were synced up with Mother Nature.
Yeah. I could write a whole thesis about what it feels like to be at a music festival on a full moon, because that also happened at Lightning in a Bottle last year. And I think it happened at when I went to Regenerate Music Festival in Denver. Like, it's just interesting because not only do you experience like the energy of collectively all coming together, which like festivals are very much spiritual playgrounds, honestly, if we really think about it. But yeah, also what can synchronistically happen in your life or things that come to light like throughout the festival weekend. Like I could write a whole thesis about it probably.
And she probably will. So
Yeah.
okay. All right, let's get into, we have like logistics for you guys because again, and I also don't want to ignore things that have happened online, just because we talk about our experiences and things that maybe worked well or didn't. We're very aware of like what happened on social media, like things people were posting on Reddit. So we'll definitely address that. But I kind of wanted to start with our logistics around like our accommodations and travel for anyone who hasn't been before and is like already going to plan for next year. So we can kind of go back and forth on this, but we ended up booking things very, very early, which I think worked out in our favor. Like, I want to say when Coachella ended last year, I think the FOMO was real. So we like bought the tickets in like the earliest pre-sale, like last May. We bought GA passes. I paid in full at the time, and then we got an Airbnb almost like maybe June last year. Like we booked shit very, very early, which I think was great. And I think we had about 10 people in our Airbnb that we like split the cost of. And it was in walking distance. I'm going to put that in quotes. But if you want to kill your feet, walking distance. But what did you do previously, Aid? Were you in an Airbnb the first time?
No, I did camping the first year. So that was 2017 because I was living in
Okay.
Arizona. And so we were able to drive from Arizona to Indio basically. And that was like when I was in college where we would have like, cars of people and we could plan out the campsite, like kind of similar to what you would do for like Electric Forest. And being able to, who's bringing what, the tents, like grocery run. Of course, we were in college too, so it wasn't like the most bougie setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get like all the food, right? We just like did the basics of like PB&Js and things like that. But yeah, that year was driving, and things have changed. Obviously, with camping, you need to have like a car camping pass now, and like certain things like that that have definitely changed. But I honestly really like the Airbnb
Mm-hmm.
this year, especially with how hot it was. And some of the logistical stuff that happened, I think, this year. But that was kind of the setup that we did in 2017. And it's funny because when we were doing that pre-sale purchase, I like accidentally bought a car camping pass because I was like, oh, we might need this. Like it was like my old college stuff was like, oh, we might need this. Like, let's just grab it. And then we didn't end up needing it, and I was able to sell it.
She was literally able to sell it, meet the girl, like jump out of the car, meet the girl, and like it just happened. Like the manifestations were real. But oh man, yeah, you survived the camping experience. God bless you.
Yeah, and that was weekend 2, 2017 as well, when it's typically hotter. Obviously, this year, weekend 1, we had the hotter weekend of the two. But yeah, it was definitely a lot warmer that year as well, from what I remember. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like Emma said, make sure you know what car camping pass or pass you need, because that's exactly what happened to this group of this car of people. Basically, they had bought just a companion pass, and that just wasn't the pass that they needed. They needed a car camping pass, and lo and behold, I tweeted out that I had this car camping pass for sale, and they were waiting at the campgrounds hoping someone would have one for them, and I just was their little Coachella angel.
Literally,
Able
yeah.
to sell them right then and there and give them the car camping pass so they could enter the campgrounds.
That's so
Luckily,
funny.
like they'd only been waiting maybe an hour, I want to say. It's not like they'd been waiting like earlier in the day. This was
Mm-hmm.
at like midnight, right?
Yeah,
Almost, I
pretty
want to
much by the
say.
time we got in. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were waiting outside of our Airbnb community to get in and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aid posted one of my favorite TikToks. She posted she's like in the hot tub at our Airbnb, and I think it was one of like the I don't know if it's Schitt's Creek, but it was like what was it? I just couldn't not live in comfort or something.
Yeah, and then I also did another one like "Life is Worth Living," the Justin Bieber.
Yeah, no, and we're not like literally no tea, no shade, but just to wrap up, kind of based on like what we experience versus like friends and what they did. Like again, Coachella is currently happening. It's day 1 now, and we're filming it of weekend 2. It just so happened that they had like a new security team apparently, and like the camping logistics were a fucking nightmare last weekend, and you guys might have seen people waiting 8 to 12 hours to get in. That's not normal. I hope and pray that doesn't happen next year. It didn't happen today for people. um there's obviously pros and cons to all of the options, but I was very happy with our decision. Being 34 years old, I loved coming home. We had a pool and a hot tub. Did I go in them? No, but I dipped my feet in the hot tub and it was great. We had like a beautiful like little backyard, all the amenities you would want and need. Like I liked us being able to cook breakfast as like a group in the morning and have our showers and stuff like that. And the community we were in was pretty close to the festival. So what we ended up doing is we had a bunch of rental cars and we would drive to the front of the gated community, park the car there just to get us as close to walking as possible. And then we like walked down the main pedestrian street. And then once we got to the entrance of the festival, there was like a yellow pedestrian path that we walked down, which was still a very significant walk, like still a 20-minute walk, I would say, in the 101-degree heat. It was no fucking joke. But, your other options are camping, which is going to be the most convenient because you're there, but then you're dealing with the elements during the day. And then there were people who obviously did hotels, shuttles. People stayed in Palm Springs. And from what I heard, the shuttles ran very smoothly. I think it's always crazy leaving the festival, but I think again, if you want those amenities and you want to do a hotel and buy a shuttle pass, I think that worked great. The shuttles did drop off much closer than like the pedestrian path did. So there were a couple nights that I was like, damn it, I wish I was on a shuttle to cut out this walking. But any other thoughts on camping versus hotel versus Airbnb?
The one thing I will say that I think also was helpful for us in terms of not getting sick is you're not in continuing to inhale the dust. I think that was super helpful for us being able to go back to an Airbnb and kind of get all the gunk out of our sinuses. Whereas it's like when you're camping, you're in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you have to wait for shower lines and kind of all those things that come with it. And it does have the benefit that you're already there and you just get to walk. But I think the one thing that was definitely a big change for this year that we don't really have answers as to why was there's no pedicabs this year in the campgrounds, or I don't even know if they would have been available on the pedestrian walking path, but
Mm-hmm.
I would have hoped because I think there was so many times where I prayed, man, it would have been so nice for a
Yeah,
pedicab to just like go beep beep, you guys need a ride, and I would have taken that in a heartbeat. um,
agreed. Yep.
because it was a lot of walking and not comfortable walking. Like when you're at EDC Las Vegas, just on kind of concrete and it's easy to navigate and all those things. Coachella, that path that we were going on was a lot of gravel and
Mm-hmm.
rocks and just very hard on the feet. And so that was kind of one of the things that I was a little bit wondering why they got rid of the pedicabs or what that whole deal was. That I'm sure a lot of people in the campgrounds too would have even had to like to have the option
Yeah.
because they fill in the campgrounds by like first appearance, basically like first come, first serve. So if you're all the way in the back of the campgrounds, that's probably also a 30-minute walk to get to the front of the festival. So
Yeah.
it's kind of similar in the sense of like EDC Las Vegas of sometimes there's going to be pros and cons with how you get to the festival or where you stay. But you can just kind of gauge what will work best for you and your group,
Yep.
depending on your comfortability or what you're willing to trade off essentially.
For sure. Yeah, that was a great point. I saw some people saying like, "Oh, you won't miss the pedicabs. They kicked up so much like gravel and dust in like the walkways." So I totally understand that and could see how they would take up a lot of room and would kick up dust. But just want to overemphasize before we get into more like y'all warned us about walking. I did underestimate. I for sure underestimated the walking plus the heat was crazy. Especially we got in by like 2:33 the latest every day. Friday was by far the worst. It was 101 degrees ish. And like literally the walk from the gated community into the festival, 20-25 minutes. Like my heart was beating out of my chest. Aid brought water. I did not bring water with me. Like I didn't bring a fan or a hat. Like I just was an idiot. So, but it was fucking killer. And then to walk home, same thing. Like you're completely dead. Like the third day, we were like, our back is shutting down. Our fucking legs are shutting. My knees were hurting. It was crazy. It was up there with EDC Las Vegas walking, if not more, in my opinion. I felt like I had 30,000 steps or something daily. So just want to stress that. But I do think hotels in like Palm Springs, there's like a lot of pool parties and things like that. So it just depends on what you and your group like want to do, pre games, after parties, things like that. But it looked like there's pros and cons to all the options. I was just very happy with our Airbnb and the good thing about walking, I will say though, is the traffic at the end. Like you're walking past all the cars that are just like sitting there in traffic leaving. And I know a lot of people said it took them like a really long time if they were driving and had parked to get out of there. So like you're avoiding all of that by just walking to your house. So love that. Um, let's do stages and layouts since you are coming back after 8 years. You noticed a lot of changes to the festival. But yeah, any main things that you want to say about like stages and layout?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I was trying to think comparatively to the size of this festival just to kind of paint a picture for, our regular festival goers. Like, it's bigger than the Speedway at EDC Las Vegas. It's probably comparable to Electric Forest, although I think the walk from, say, like outdoor stage at Coachella to Sahara tent might be longer than from Tripoli to Sherwood Forest, or Sherwood Court stage. So just to give you an idea of the sheer amount of size. And even on the first day, I was like, oh my God, this feels way bigger. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is expanded. This is way farther. Cause I remember in 2017 when I did that walk from outdoor stage to do lab even, right? And in 2017, there was a Skrillex surprise set during Lady Gaga. And I remember booking it from Coachella stage to the outdoor stage and feel or Coachella stage to the do lab stage. And that was a run. That was a
Mm-hmm.
walk, and even just feeling that from day one, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy what they've been able to do. And seeing the new Sahara tent, like back when I went in 2017, I think it was where Mojave now is, or Gobi, I think it's Mojave. That used to be where Sahara tent was, where Kassar stage is where Do Lab was. And there wasn't even a Kassar stage back then. Heineken House used to be an actual house, like
Yeah.
building, you know? So seeing all of those updates and changes was just really cool. Also, Yuma tent. Oh my God. Yuma tent used to be way smaller, and here it is, like this complete like warehouse dance hall. Like honestly, reminded me a lot of the Concourse Project, and Radius, even that venue in Chicago. So even just like the sheer size of everything, it's just like wow, like what an upgrade it really was.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about it?
Yeah, no, I mean for a first timer, you watch the live streams and you've seen the pictures and the videos for like ever. So to see it in person kind of blew me away, just like the scale of it and the size, like yes, insane amount of walking, but the production was just like absolutely up there with the top festivals in the world. And I just like we spent a lot of the time at the dance music stages, but we went to the main stage, we went to the outdoor stage and saw a little bit of everything. I loved the variety. It just was so cool to go from like the Yuma tent, which had this like wood flooring, which I wasn't expecting at all. So it was like really easy to like dance and shuffle around. The most insane like lighting on the ceiling with all the disco balls. It just was. We were there at 3 p.m. the first day because it's air conditioned. Love that for us. And like we were just it shook just looking at the lighting and the lasers and the lights hitting the disco balls. We were like, what the fuck? This is crazy. And that's like its own little world. And then it was my first Do Lab experience. What a vibe. Fucking loved that. That itself was just like beautiful at nighttime, really cool during the day. The lighting, the lasers at that stage, like that was its own special world. And then to Aid's point, the Quasar was new last year, and that almost looks like these like floating, like massive LED screens that kind of look like a mirage, and they put that off in its like own little corner. And they reserve that for like longer sets, so artists are playing like 2 to 3 hour long sets. So that kind of almost felt like you were in your like own little world when you went back there. And then I would say the Sahara was probably my other favorite that we spent a lot of time at. And that one to me is like the most notable Coachella stage. I don't know why, but I just have seen so many crazy sets happen there in the past. And that's the one that kind of has like the arc, like enclosure on the top. Um, my favorite thing about that was for each artist who played, they curated the stage design, which I was not expecting at all. So it was like this massive LED screen like behind them, but then each artist picked like the stage design around like their DJ booth and like literally anything, the artwork, like they curated it. So there was like breaks in between, and I just like fucking loved that like Alec had a dance troupe that he brought out. Sarah Landry's setup was like all this like silver like crazy artwork structuring. I don't know. So I was blown away by the stages, like overall, and just thought they were really, really cool. And I loved the variety that we had. Did you have a favorite overall?
Favorite stage?
Yeah,
Yuma. I
yeah,
wish we spent more time there, but also like
agreed.
Peyton brought up a really good point, or from Peyton, of like, that's kind of a stage and music that we can probably experience anywhere a little bit in that
Hmm.
sense, to his point. Whereas like, Sahara, being able to see Sarah Landry there, Kind Music there, where they have their own special production to it, I think is really special. And also just getting a feel for some of the other stages, like the Kassar stage. Like it's just stuff that's more unique to Coachella, even though Yuma is very much in its own unique place. And
Hmm.
then, if you like the Do Lab stage, you're gonna love Lightning in a Bottle, because I felt like I was just back at Lightning in a Bottle at the Boogie
Hmm.
stage, because that's the same stage designs there. So I'll always have like a special place in my heart for Do Lab stage too. But yeah, I love Yuma. And I think with Sahara and even some of the other stages where artists are bringing their own production and their own setup, like it really just speaks to the planning that goes into Coachella sets and how much of a career highlight it is for a lot of the artists and a milestone for them, that they're
Mhm.
really excited to debut, the production they have, the sets they have, new music, whatever it is. That I think makes it really special comparative to just going to, a certain DJ set or whatever at like EDC or Electric Forest. I keep comparing like Coachella
Mhm.
almost to those festivals just because, that's a lot of the festival content that like we're known for, and that a
Yeah.
lot of people are listening to. That there's a lot of like intention and planning that goes into a lot of these artist sets, that I think a
Agreed.
lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, that was the most eye-opening thing to me. I think like in general, I think just to compare just because they're right next to each other, like when you have like an ultra that feels like it's kicking off festival season, especially in the EDM community, to like an EDC Las Vegas, which is obviously like the biggest festival with like 500,000 people. This was 125,000 people per day. One of my biggest takeaways was how big of a production and planning, like Aid said, that the artists put into their sets. Like to me, I felt like this was their Super Bowl based on the performances that they put on, the production that went into it, like how they curated their sets. I just was like, holy shit, like this is the thing that they are planning the most. If you get booked for a Coachella set, like they are bringing their A game. Their performance is crazy. Their visuals are like unique. Like even like P had his like P dancing cam where he was like making fun of a TikTok that like went viral about him, to like I mentioned the Alec dance troupe, to like the surprise guests, which are such a huge thing at Coachella with the Chase and Status set. They had like Stormzy come out. They had like all this custom Becky Hill visual, which I fucking loved. So yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway, was like, wow, these artists, these are cultural moments that are happening. And it very much felt that way with like Lady Gaga and Charlie XCX. Could go on and on about that, but just being in the crowd for those two, women's performances, I was like, this is a cultural movement that is happening, and it's actually crazy to be here in the crowd watching Brat live out in real time. Like it was just so fucking crazy to see that. I don't know. How did you feel watching some of the performances?
Oh my god, yeah, like, feel really being in the crowd is just a whole other thing, and thinking like, "Wow, I used to watch this on, like, YouTube live stream and watch this be
Mm-hmm.
live streamed, and to actually be here is just so cool to be a part of it." And I feel like a lot of people have, misconceptions about how the crowd is and the dancing and all the things and the influencers and whatever, but, like, actually being there, like, there's just regular normal people like you and I, right? And having a great time all experiencing this together. And Gaga was just absolutely incredible with the production she had, the dancers, the costume changes. Like that's something we're going to be talking about for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
I think, comparatively to like how Beyonce had her performance at Coachella, and all the special guests that Charlie brought out was just so iconic. And then Emma and I didn't even get to experience this set, but everyone's talking about like Zed's set at the outdoor
Mm-hmm.
stage was like really incredible, and he brought out a lot of guests. And Zed's been there a couple of times, and it's really special that even though this was maybe his fourth or fifth time playing Coachella, he wanted to do something different and, bring out a different kind of flair and style to it, which I think is super special. But yeah, out of like the non-electronic artists that we saw, like Charlie was probably one of my must-sees, and then it was really cool to see Lady Gaga because the first time I ever saw her was Monster Ball tour, so I felt like my
Mm-hmm.
inner child, like high school Aid, was like coming out and just like having the best time at her set.
For sure. Yeah, and I'll throw out like we could definitely chat some other top sets. If I had to pick like just overall, I'm gonna put Lady Gaga as one, just based on she did like a 5 act performance, um, with costume changes, stage design. Gustavo Steen came out as like her guest. Like it was singing live, interacting with the crowd. It just was like I wanted to cry multiple times just hearing her talk to us. I was like, this is just fucking crazy that this is happening right now. That this the surprise guest we can get into, but the B3B that was announced. So Sarah Landry had, played her set, and then she came back and did a B3B with Amelie Lenz and Indira Paganato at the Do Lab. That was my second favorite set of the whole weekend. It just was heavy, in your face, lasers, late night, like Aid and I were losing our minds. And then Tin Liquor to go on like another avenue that was in the Yuma tent. So like Aid said, like I've seen Tin Liquor a ton of times. It was my favorite Tin Liquor set I had seen, and we only really caught half of it because your girl was dehydrated and needed to wait on a line for water and drinks and things like that. But from what we heard, it was amazing. So yeah, and then like I mentioned to Aid and Payne at one point, I was like, it's really interesting to watch the crowd changing for the performances because it's telling me a lot about where we're at with rave culture right now based on like how many people are here. So I was very much paying attention because like it would go from Sammy Vergie, his playing his debut at Coachella, fucking packed Sahara tent. A lot of the UK garage artists were like that. And then Boris Brecha was after, and it like emptied out and like it eventually filled in a little bit, but we were just like, this is insane to us that we can like walk up to the rail to now see Boris. It just said a lot about like where we're at with dance music, what's popular right now. And like I would say, I mean, like Disco Lines was packed, Sarah Landry was fucking packed. Who else? Chasing Status. Anybody else that you were like, holy shit, this is crazy?
I mean, we weren't there, but we saw the videos of like Malpeace at super packed.
Mm,
Where I
yeah.
was like, "Oh my god, like that must have been really packed." Where were we? I forgot where we were. We were somewhere else. Oh, we were at
Mm-hmm.
Above and Beyond. Was that
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
conflict?
I think
Yeah.
around then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was Above and Beyond and Amelie Lens. That was a rough conflict, and we chose Above and Beyond, which I think we chose right.
Yeah.
Still, even though we love Malp, but we love Above and Beyond as well. Um, and yeah, I think Zed's Dead was pretty packed for the most part, kind of thinned out on the last day. Oh,
Stussy.
and then day one had Stussy and Beltran, which were super packed. And I was telling people ahead of time, like, if you want to see those artists, you got to get there a set or two early, just so you can guarantee that you're in there. And that's what we did for Chris Stussy because we were already there for Tin Liquor. We were like, we might as well just hang out.
Can you
Luckily,
talk
with
about that a little
Yuma,
bit with the gate? Yeah, like how
yeah,
that works.
yeah. So they have like an outdoor kind of like flow, and it's a maze of a gate a little bit set up. And when it's like usual, like normal time for Yuma, like they're just letting people in. It's not like they're checking a wristband or like anything. They're just letting people in. So it's kind of constantly going, but you just have to walk through this little maze basically to get through it. And so for Stussy, I believe, if you're arriving there right as he's starting, they probably capped it at a certain point. But Emma and Peyton and I, we walked to the back of Stussy at a certain point, and like there was still a lot of room. So I think they do a really good job in not packing it out for the sake of packing it out, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
great. But you definitely want to make sure that you're there ahead of time. I know the same thing happened with Beltran. We didn't see Beltran. We saw, I forgot who we saw at that same time, but we just knew it was going to be crazy in Yuma. And so that was kind of like things that you learn about because it is a covered stage, so they want to keep it at that capacity. But I remember in years past, I always heard, I think Chris Lake had a set in the Yuma, right? He has that song that was inspired by the Yuma.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always see tweets being like, yeah, like there was no way with that line that we were going to get in, So
Mm-hmm.
you definitely learn kind of how to plan around those sets that you really want to see and getting there early. Which was what we thought would happen with like an artist like Boris, right? We thought like, oh my God, we got to
Mm-hmm.
get there early to get a good spot. We got to hang out here. And then like, no, there was tons of room, which was
Yeah.
crazy.
It was really great. Yeah, and like I was so glad Aid said that tip because just the way it worked out, we had a lot of Yuma the first day on Friday, and we went in early, like got in no problem, and then we did. I think we left and came back, but yeah, it was Tin Liquor into Pete Tong back to back Ahmed spins. So that there, the nice thing was once you were in the tent, there was a side door that you could use the restrooms, or there was like cold drinks, or there were bars, and they did have some seating there as well, which was really nice. So we were like, cool, we're not going to leave because the rush for Chris Dusty is going to be insane. Like, let's just post up here for 3 sets in a row. And that was the best decision we made. That was one of my favorite points in the night. We literally just went outside, grabbed a drink, and sat on the couch and like talked for 45 minutes. And it was like our only time to sit, our only time to regroup. We could still hear the set. So that was like one of my favorite things. And then like we saw people post on TikTok after like the line to get into the Yuma for Chris Dusty. And we were like, thank God we didn't leave and try to come back. So definitely like pro tip. And then, when you're in there, you can still use the bathroom and go get drinks and stuff like that. But that was definitely something that worked out. And then I guess other surprise guest tips, like I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but it ended up being like some things were announced by Coachella like in advance, like the day of. Like they added Weezer to the lineup last minute, and that was like announced. And then other things, maybe just like throughout the festival, they posted about like Zed's Dead on Sunday, like earlier in the afternoon, I want to say. So it would just say like surprise guest on like the Do Lab lineup, and then they would push that out via the app and things like that. Or I signed up for the text message notifications from the Do Lab, so you could kind of plan around that. Once we knew it was Zed's Dead, we were like, this is going to be fucking insane. So we did the same thing, and we went to the Do Lab like the set before and kind of just like hung out there while it filled in. But yeah, I think we got pretty solid surprise guests overall.
Mm-hmm. You bring up another
um,
great tip. If you have T-Mobile, like Emma does, you're gonna have amazing service. If you have AT&T, like me, you're not gonna have service. Just be prepared. There's pockets of it, and actually, there was something that surprised me was around certain food areas and bar areas. There was Wi-Fi, as well as I think around the merch area there was Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi that you could connect to, which is kind of nice because if you're ever like in a panic or emergency, you need to contact someone through iMessage or FaceTime or whatever, you could connect to that Wi-Fi. But otherwise, like I got to a certain point where I just went on airplane mode and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let go and let God. Emma's here with me.
yeah.
Like I'm good, like I don't need to
Yeah.
keep trying my phone and and do it that way. So yeah, it was definitely the service was a little bit spotty, but I know Emma had great service, which
Hmm.
was helpful.
Yeah, we were using even our friend Peyton was like trying to meet up with someone throughout the weekend. And I just was like, give me her phone number, and I was just texting her, but I had literally no problem. My text worked like in every area, which was super nice. Um, but we could really quickly do food and drinks. I don't think there was too much here, but just wanted to touch on this as well because a couple of our posts popped off on TikTok with me rating chicken tenders way too high of a rating. But yeah, bring some funds for food and drinks, my friends, because it is not the cheapest of festivals, that is for sure. You could definitely like browse the options. There's tons of varieties, I would say. There's plenty of food and drink vendors. There was this whole like Indio Central Market, which was open to GA, that I thought was crazy big. Like it was an absolutely massive, like tented area that was right next to the Heineken house, which was like a sponsored stage area. Like Aid mentioned, they had Wi-Fi there. So plenty of options to choose from, but it could range anywhere from like a $12 pizza slice to $24 chicken nuggets and friggin' fries, which is crazy. And with the alcohol, this was the second year in a row that at Coachella you could now like buy drinks and walk around with them, which in years prior, like I guess that would be what 2023 and prior, you had to drink in like the gardens, which were separated areas. So it was kind of nice. You could get a drink and walk around with it. They had a craft beer place, which was sick. Like that was just super nice. On Saturday, it was hot. We were like, I feel like a cider. Let's just go get a cider at the craft beer house. So I kind of like liked that there were options and stuff like that. But yeah, any thoughts on food, Aid? What was your favorite thing that you ate?
Even though I'm laughing because I struggled to eat it, there was this really good poke bowl that I got from Sweetfin. There's this influencer, Remy Cruz. She actually had her own like Remy Cruz poke bowl. And that was in the Indio Central Market, and it was so good. I just wish that they had fork available because I was just struggling with my chopsticks to eat it. Like I can do sushi with chopsticks, but like actually doing a bowl, I struggle. But aside
Mhm.
from that, I love that. My go-to for festival food is honestly some type of bowl because you get rice, you get protein, you get maybe some type of veggie, you get all your little macros, and it can be super filling. So I had a really good like Korean barbecue bowl, I had a hibachi bowl, I had a poke bowl. And then I
Mhm.
did combat that with some pizza to end the night, which was also good. But yeah, definitely can budget out for that. The one thing we will say that was a very great plus is that there was $2 waters to buy and they were in like
Mhm.
aluminum bottles, which I think was really nice. And, to have $2 water, I know a lot of people would be like, oh, but it should be free. But like for it to be $2, I think is pretty outstanding
Mhm.
compared to some other festivals where it's like $8 or $6 for a liquid death can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like a bottle that you could open and close. So like it wasn't something that you had to chug right away. They did have a lot of water refill stations. I think one of the pieces of feedback that maybe we would like to see at Coachella is they do have a section for the bar, but if you're buying like water or electrolyte or whatever, like you kind of have to wait in the bar line, with the people that are buying alcohol, which just kind of like slows the process down a little bit. And again, this is relatively new that they don't have these drinking gardens anymore, and you
Mhm.
can just go to the set bars and buy drinks. But I think having like a separate dedicated place, like if you're buying like non-alcoholic things, like you
Yeah.
could come here and not have to wait in the line, with the people that are buying drinks, because we would get stuck behind, a group of 4 people that are all ordering like Red Bull tequilas and
Brutal.
waters and like, yeah, it was just a little rough. Which we learned that in the Yuma tent, they do actually have that available. They had a cold drink section and they had a bar. We just found that out after we'd waited in
Right.
the bar line, basically. So that's something that maybe we would like to see be a little bit different, but otherwise, like, props on the $2 water. It was super clutch to
Mhm.
have. And then they had a lot of water refill stations for people. So if you wanted to bring a hydration pack or reusable water bottle, like you could definitely do that too.
Yeah, 100%. I would say, if anything, like one of my rookie mistakes, I decided not to do a hydration pack, even though everyone told me to, just because I had my lunchbox light pack and I was like, I'll just get one of the aluminum bottles and I'll refill it, which I did do. However, I just found myself drinking so much water and we were running around and so busy that there were a couple times where I was like definitely dehydrated and waited too long to go fill it. So the time at Tin Liquor where we got stuck, I was like dying, needed a drink. I like chugged an electrolyte in probably 5 seconds by the time we got up to the front of the bar. But same thing, we didn't know the cold drinks bar like line was completely separate. We waited in like the regular bar line and it took for fucking ever. So yeah, I agree with everything Aid said. And then I loved we got to have spicy pie. That was probably one of my favorite things I had. And then one of the places I ordered pizza. The pizza wasn't good, but they had homemade chocolate chip cookies and those fucking slapped. So that was one of my favorite things that I ate. Um and then honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's really fucking easy to sneak stuff in. So many people snuck in alcohol. People were drinking beat boxes, buzz balls. A lot of our friends had like the tampon flasks or like the plastic flasks. Like I saw those literally everywhere. Not to say that that's what you guys should do, but security really was not out here checking any bags pretty much at all. You went through like a metal detector and they were flagging people whenever they wanted to that would do a bag search. Otherwise, they were just like, move it in, move it in, move it in. Didn't even like look at our bags. So just mentioning that for next year, I probably would have sneaked in just maybe a couple little tampon flasks just to throw in some soda just to save some bucks. Um, but yeah, but other than that, like there's just so many options for you guys to check out. And I definitely would recommend checking out some of the brand activations as well. Because obviously Coachella and brand activations just go together like this. And I didn't get to see all the ones I wanted to. I wish I had, but there were really long lines and it was very, very hot to stand out in the sun. But there was everything from like Sol de Janeiro to Alaskan Airlines to Pinterest, Coca-Cola, and they really bring their A game as well. And a lot of them were like indoor activations that you could go in. So that's why there were lines. And yeah, we did do this like, I think it was GV Black presents like Party in My Living Room. That was just like this cool little DJ setup. That was like an enclosed space that we went into. The Heineken house was like a pretty massive like outdoor setup with the stage, and it was like really shaded. So we went there to get out of the heat on Sunday and saw Wookiees set there. Any other brand activations we saw? I'm trying to think. We didn't do too many of them.
We saw that whole Travis Scott thing. I don't even know
Oh
what that
yeah.
all was. I still don't understand what that
There
whole
was like a
area
Travis Scott
was.
like art exhibition thing that was like very interesting because he was one of the headline. There was literally so much to discover. We couldn't do it all. People said like
Yeah.
there's no way, and I totally agree. Like there was just no way we were gonna get to everything, and we definitely missed out a lot on the brand activations for sure.
Yeah, because day one, we mainly hung out like Dulab, Sahara, Yuma. We did go to Coachella stage, but we didn't even touch like outdoor stage, like that whole side of the festival, Heineken house. And so we walked over to that side of the festival and we were just like, oh my God, like this is a whole other festival going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of brand activations. I think there's like I think you probably have to try to go to those during like bigger sets or something. Not towards the like
Mm-hmm.
by the end of the night, they're kind of closed and wrapping up.
Yeah.
But I saw one of my friends got to go to the Sol de Janeiro and she like barely waited in line. And I'm like, which day was that? And what
Yeah.
time was that at? Because like we saw crazy, I feel like we saw a lot of lines for some of the things that you'll have to wait in. But Yeah, definitely lots to explore, and you can't get through it all, throughout the
Mm-hmm.
whole festival. And that's why we were joking, man, we could have gone weekend two just to have more
Literally.
time to explore and see the other sets we didn't get to see after hearing, people's feedback from weekend one. So yeah, that's kind of like the caveat to it all, is that you just can't fit it all, no matter how early you go. Like, I feel
Agreed.
like we got there pretty early all the days just to make the most of it. But yeah, there were still some things we didn't get to quite see.
Yeah. And I will mention too, because it was brand new this year, there was a whole Red Bull Mirage, which from the outside looked absolutely sick, but there really was not much interacting with it if you were GA. So like this was positioned right across from the Quasar stage, and this was like a new kind of like VIP amenity essentially. But when you approached it, the back was open and it was just like a bar. So you could go up and order, get Red Bull, stuff like that. And they were playing the music from the Quasar stage. But if you went on the other side and saw the front of it, it basically was like an elevated viewing platform, and each tier was served a different purpose. So the first floor was literally Nobu, and you could book Nobu dinner or food reservations that were like $250 to $300. I think we looked up was the Nobu experience, but you got access to the Red Bull Mirage platform the whole day. And then I believe I just read that the second floor was like influencers, creators, media, guest, and then the top floor was like artist, guest, pass, celebrity kind of people. So it definitely was like a VIP elevated experience kind of thing. But it looked really nice for whoever was able to go have like shade and seating, and it looked like bottle service essentially. So that was like something that was new um this year. But I mean, we could kind of speak to the GA experience because we bought GA tickets. We roughed it in the crowd with with everyone else. But overall, like literally no complaints, I would say. Like there was still like plenty of places if you needed to go find shade, which we needed to a lot, we would go and find shade. There were some food areas that had some shading structures, like the Yuma tent was air conditioned. So there was like definitely places we could go. I think plenty of places for us to like go and sit down. And like we said, it just depended on the sets. Some sets we could walk all the way up to the front, no fucking problem. Other sets were just like a little crowded. But yeah, I mean the VIP areas definitely like looked super nice and worth it if you guys want to spend the price. Like the main stage VIP area looked like fucking massive from what I could tell. And it seemed like a lot of like the influencer celebrity type people were hanging out in VIP because I did not see pretty much anybody in GA. I don't know. What about you, Aid?
Yeah, no, we only had a couple like run-ins with people, or there was some DJs that were a little incognito that we like kind of also could see or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But yeah, honestly, GA wasn't too bad. And what I'll speak to with like, what's kind of the main difference that we usually go for VIP is the bathrooms, right? But we never once really had an issue with like waiting in a super long line for a porta potty. And the porta potties were relatively like clean or fully stocked with toilet paper. You would just kind of like pick your moments of when to go to the bathroom. Like if you're at Sahara Tent, you typically wouldn't go to the bathroom right at the end of the set or the beginning of the set because that's when kind of everyone's going to the bathroom. So you kind of pick those things like that. But in terms of the bathroom experience, like I wasn't completely like turned off by it. Where like sometimes at Electric Forest, you're really in the trenches there with those porta potties,
Nope.
and you're just like dealing with that and the grossness of all of that. But in terms of that, I was really impressed by that. They were regularly cleaned, they were always stocked, was always able to wash my hands. So that was always really nice to deal with, especially being in GA.
100%. Yeah. And like for just going through like the normal security line, everything again coming up from like we went the entrance, that's the same as like the pedestrians walking in, the shuttles getting dropped off, people parking. Like again, we got there maybe 2:30 ish each day, and we're in pretty quickly through the security lines. And then everything Aid said, I feel like there were just like so many porta potty options. So like the Sahara tent and Dulab area, like I walked into the porta potties most of the time, no problem. Maybe there was like a tiny little line. And then some of the bathrooms were like indoor bathrooms. So over near the Quasar area, like if you were emptying from the main stage, those bathrooms were actually like stall bathrooms with sinks and
Yep.
everything and mirrors. So that was like a nice change every now and then. That was the only time we had like bathroom chaos was when Charlie XCX emptied out and we had to run to the bathroom, and that was like complete chaos. But other than that, not bad. We'll applaud that. But I would do GA again. Like honestly, if you can afford it and you want to do VIP, amazing. Like you'll have access to different viewing areas that are a little bit closer, probably nicer bathrooms. They have different food options and shit like that, but I had no problem with GA, honestly. Um, and then I think really quickly we can touch on outfits. I don't think there's much to say here. You can just learn by my mistake and don't wear leather. That would be smart to do. So, no, but in all seriousness, I think I went for a lot of like fashion. My outfits were comfy day 1 and 2. Third day, not as much, but I definitely learned my lesson. Like, I think there's a way to do cute and comfy. And I echo what all the pro tip people tell you, like, be comfortable. It might be hot as fuck. You're going to be walking so far, like, wear the most comfortable shoes. You're going to be covered in dust. That's how I left every day. I left feeling like I had a fucking layer of dust in my face, in my makeup, on my body. So, like, bandanas being the most important. We got a locker, which I thought was great. It was kind of like all the way by the entrance. So we would only like schlep it all the way over there, like maybe once when we wanted to grab like our pashminas or bucket hats, our layers for nighttime. But yeah, that would be my only thing. I would say just think about functionality and listen to what everybody says about like packing layers, being comfortable, breathable, fashion, and definitely bringing a bandana or a mask.
Yeah, agreed. Lessons learned on the leather. I actually considered a leather outfit, and seeing what you went through, I was like, thank God I didn't do that.
Pouring sweat. Pouring
But
sweat.
I really had probably the worst time with my feet. I got really bad blisters for some reason, and I felt like I made such rookie mistakes with my shoes. And like, honestly, like even talking about the locker, I'm like, I could have just worn like my tennis shoes for that walk and then just like swapped out the shoes that I wanted for the actual
True.
festival, you know? And like just we had the bigger locker, so we definitely like were able to fit a lot of stuff in there. So there was definitely like some lessons learned. And I was like, man, 60 festivals later and I'm making these rookie mistakes and my feet are paying for it. Like
Dude,
such bad blisters.
that's how I felt the whole weekend. Like you got you can listen to all the pro tips in the world and you can still become a rookie again. Like we've done so many other festivals, but when you do a festival for the first time, like you're going to fuck up and you're going to make mistakes. That's how I felt. I was like, cool. Didn't like one of the days I didn't bring like a hat, and I would honestly say that was a mistake because of the heat. Like if you don't have a hand fan or one of the electric fans or a hat or sunglasses or a parasol, which is even smarter, like I honestly would recommend it because any amount of shade, even just on that 20 to 25 minute a walk, like would have helped. So like I learned my lesson by day 2. I brought my like little hand fan and I was just like straight up on the walk, just like holding my hand fan like above my head to keep my face out of the sun. So that was lesson learned. Like I said, hydration pack, like I think it's just easier and more convenient so you're not stuck like in those moments of getting dehydrated. And the bandana and mask, like Aid got the ones that were like go around your neck and that you can pull up, which I thought were great. I just should have worn it more, I would say, because I definitely have like throat ear issues leaving the festival. And the Sahara tent by day 2 was like just you would look around and it was a dust bowl. You could see the
You could
dust
see it.
floating in the air. Yeah. I was like, cool, cool, cool. So we need to get the fuck out of here because we're all breathing that in right now. And then once we went out by like the side to watch Sammy Virgie, we were like, oh my God, I could breathe again.
Yeah,
So
the
much
dust
better.
was pretty nuts, honestly. Like I was surprised just how much gets kicked up so easily, but it's just the amount of foot traffic and like dancing and all those things that are happening. And I was pretty good about wearing mine, especially on the third day. And I think that's why like I'm feeling good. Like I still feel like I don't really have any sinus issues or things since then, which has been great. That's like what I was worried about the most because it's not fun to deal with after a festival like that. So yeah, definitely have bandana. I personally like the sleeveless ones because you could just have it around your neck and then you just pull it up. So that way you're not having to tie a bandana all the time because that could just be really difficult to deal with. But yeah, there was definitely some lessons learned for next time.
For sure. Yeah. So then next I had pros and cons list, which we can kind of like knock this out quick because I think we've talked about some of these things. I'll just name a few and then Aid if you want to like jump into. But I put every day felt so long in a good way. Like we were talking on day 3, we were like sitting at the end of Zed's Dead, and I was like, this felt like a 4-day festival to me. It just felt so long. But I felt like I got my money's worth out of it for sure, just based on the performances alone. But I think going around like 2:30 and then it ended maybe like what 1 a.m. midnight ish the last day felt like long days. The variety of music, honestly, I'm a fan of the multi-genre because it was really nice to like go see my pop queens, maybe go see a band. and get like a little bit of a break. Even just switching the genres, kind of getting like a break of genres. So like the headliner sets performances, I just thought that was like really cool to break it up and see. The art and the location and setting I put on here was fucking gorgeous. It was the most aesthetically pleasing venue I have ever seen. Like we would just walk around like at golden hour and I was like, this is fucking gorgeous. You have like the mountains in the background, all the art glowing, like the Ferris wheel. It just was like a stunning location and setting. And I really, really loved just like being in nature. I thought that was gorgeous. Um, and then I think what other things that we didn't mention yet. Sound was pretty good for the most part. We have some cons about that. Some of the areas having AC was like a huge plus for me. Really appreciated that. I like the surprise guest element. Um, that was really cool just to like have some people thrown in at the last minute. My perfect cell service. That was a pro for me. And then I put the style and outfits. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking loved it. It was nice to be different than like rave fashion, which is like very like loud and in your face, very like skimpy clothing. I just like loved the more boho style. Like a lot of trends were very like prevalent there, but I don't know. I liked kind of switching up my looks and going for like the Coachella vibe and fashion. I thought people really like got into it and it was cool to see people dressing up. So those were some pros that I had down.
Yeah, and honestly, so many attractive people. Like, literally some of the most attractive people I've ever seen in my entire life.
100%.
Like, I felt like I was like a Coachella at like 6, you know, like like honestly, I was like, "Oh my god, these people are beautiful." But like
Best
I
looking
think
crowd for sure.
yeah, best looking crowd. Energy was there. Like, I think one of the things that we'll kind of debunk is like, you know, the crowd I really enjoyed. Like, we didn't have a single bad experience. Like, yeah, you're going to maybe see some of your youngins, right, that push to the front a little bit. But even then, like, I feel like we saw a lot of people like around our age, even too, that were enjoying the music and everyone was just having a really good time. And I think a lot of people online like to say, like, but no one's dancing, no one's having like, well, no one looks like they're having fun. And it's like, honestly, a lot of us were having a lot of fun, but the heat takes a lot out of you. And like, I would like everyone who says that to go experience day one of Coachella at 101-degree weather and then report back to me by day 3 why you are on your last limb of energy. Honestly, like, it was a pretty intense energetic festival that you had to deal with the elements and all those things, but didn't have a single bad crowd vibe detected. Everyone passed the vibe check in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, like I commented on someone else's video. I think it was Landis posted something about Odd Mob set and they said the same thing. They were like, no one is fucking vibing to his set. What the fuck? Like no one is moving. And I literally commented, I was like, actually, I was there and people were vibing and they were dancing. But just to give you some background knowledge, when we got to Odd Mob set at 5 o'clock, it
It
was
was so
still
hot.
98 degrees and we literally could only find like the Red Bull Mirage casted like the smallest shade in the GA area. We were hovered up against the wall of the Red Bull Mirage. I'm not shitting you. And we were like listening and vibing. Was I dancing like crazy? No, because I was trying to not sweat as like, you know what I mean? So people were like fucking enjoying and vibing, but it might have been 98 degrees when you were watching that set. So people were trying to like conserve their energy a little bit for nighttime. So all that is to say, like, don't believe everything you see on the live stream. Like, you don't pick up the same energy in person. And honestly, same thing. I saw some comments about Lady Gaga's performance, and I was like, we were taking in the spectacle that was her performance. Like I was watching it like it was like a theatrical performance. So I wasn't like dancing the craziest I've ever danced to some of the songs I was, but we were just like fucking standing there mind blown staring at the screen like what is going on. So that's how I felt. But yeah, debunking like the
Yeah.
myth of like the crowd is better weekend too. We've seen a lot of people say that. I We had very little issues and I think there's just some sets that are more high energy than others and I noticed that. Like I think I turned to the group during Disco Lines and I was like, this crowd is very much the vibe. Like they were having so much fun. Everyone was going nuts. Some crowds were a little bit more tame, but yeah, I agree with Aid. I think the weekend one vibe was perfectly fine.
Yeah, like the influencery, like they're just for Coachella, there for the pictures is really such a small percentage of the actual people that attend Coachella. Like the people in the campgrounds, those are regular people that are hustling and bustling, like saving up money to go to Coachella, looking forward to Coachella. Like at all the EDM type sets and stages, it's just like being at Electric Forest. It's just like being at EDC. You had people that were dressed up as like cones. Like
Yeah.
people had these funny little totems. Like we had this Glinda totem that we would see that we were just dying every time we saw her. And like there was still some of that, like, you know, things that we would see at like Electric Forest or Lightning in a Bottle that like were still really special. And I've even seen content to this day of funny bits and things that people were doing at this festival
Mm-hmm.
that were still having like a really good time. And to be honest, I think I would like to be a weekend one person the rest of like my life
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think I could go through weekend one. Like I don't think I could go through sitting at home when weekend one is happening, watching all the things unfold, knowing that I was going weekend two. Like I think I
Yeah.
would literally have so much FOMO and like this anxiousness of like, oh, I just want to be there and get there. Like I don't think I could sit through all that knowing I was going weekend two. Like I think I would probably continue to go
Mm-hmm.
weekend one because you just get all the marvel and surprise and get to see everything first and really be
Agreed.
able to experience it, that I don't think I could sit through that at home and wait for weekend two. Like I just don't
Yeah.
think I could do it.
I think a lot of people feel the same about Tomorrowland too. Like we have friends who are like so gung ho weekend one of Tomorrowland for the same reasons. They were like, I want to be the first to see the stage designs. I want to see what's new this year. And I think I feel the same. Also with like the dust being kicked up, like we said, I
It'd
couldn't
be way
imagine if you're going
worse.
to Stagecoach. Like that's weekend 3 at this location of dust being kicked up. So like God bless all of them that are going out to that because that's the grounds are just like so fucked at that point. But yeah, just echoing everything Aid said, I think like I personally wanted to see the influencer culture and like is it true? Is it not? I recognized 3 people in the crowd for the most part. Like Aid said, we might have seen like a couple of DJs, but I met my favorite YouTuber, Alicia Marie. That was like the one person I was manifesting meeting. And I literally, guys, when I tell you the manifestations were like happening like that, we were at Sarah Landry. I looked at my phone. Alicia's photo popped up. I go to Aid. That's the one person I want to see this weekend. Not even 20 minutes later, she's standing online to go in the VIP area. And Aid hits me. She's like, that's Alicia Marie right there. And I was like, I have to say hello. So
Insane.
that we saw Paris Hilton run through the crowd. She like
Yep.
almost knocked into us on the way out of Charlie XCX. So that was probably the most iconic moment. And I did see Pasquale Rotella kind of hanging out in the crowd and just didn't want to bother him. So for the most part, I think if you had VIP and you were hanging out in the VIP area at main stage, you probably would have seen a fuck ton of people, but not that in the regular crowd, not that in GA, did not feel like that. It's 125,000 people. How, you know, what percentage do you think is like actually just like influencers? And I'm sure there are people who are toxic to the culture who are going for the photos and leaving. I'm sure that is actually happening. But like I said, I just don't think you're going to deal with a lot of it. We had so many like fun, funny rave fam like moments in the crowd that like was awesome to see. But
Totally.
our friend Peyton did say he missed more of like the weirdness, like the weird element. And Aid and I were just like, I just think this festival is too mainstream for that. Like this isn't a forest. This isn't a lightning in a bottle. Like I think it's just going to be a little bit different since it's like multi-genre. Um,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
there's those little funny moments of that too that we like
yeah.
experience. And like we also witnessed a surprise like Muay Thai. They're like a marching band that does a lot of covers and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
we were just happened to be sitting eating food in the shade on day 3. And they ended up showing up and they were like, yeah, we're going to march and sing, not sing it, march and play as we head to our set. And that was a completely like serendipitous kind of moment. And that was Peyton's like Charlie XCX moment.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like he was so happy because that was like his must see for the weekend. And then he ended up getting to have a photo with them. And then we followed them as they played their You and Me remix, which was just so iconic and everything. But what I will say, like, this is something that I could write another thesis about is like the mindset that you go into a music festival is so critical. If you are going into a festival like Coachella, like, oh, it's just a bunch of influencers, like, blah, 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 like you come in with all those misconceptions in the back of your head, you're going to be looking for that. Like you're wearing
Mm-hmm.
that like you're wearing that like glasses, you know, that belief or these myths or whatever. And you're going to be finding moments of that to validate that point. But if you just go in, no expectations, and you just allow yourself to experience it, you're going to find like, oh, yeah, like maybe this isn't true. Maybe this doesn't actually follow what I've been hearing people talk about online. And, you know, obviously a lot of the people that have been super loud online have actually never been to Coachella. They've
Mm-hmm.
just, you know, seen the live stream, they've seen the posts, and they've made, certain assumptions and have said that that's fact, right? And so I would just be very mindful, and this goes for any festival, right? Like just quiet the noise. If there's a festival that you really want to go to, and you really want to experience it for yourself, like remove all the expectations and what you've heard and just allow yourself to go into the experience with a curious mind, and just allow yourself to be curious about it and experience it. And you're going to be surprised how your weekend actually unfolds.
100%. Yeah, that was so well said. Yeah, and Aid touched on some other memories. I think we hit on a lot of them here, but I would just say the Moita band thing was just was another one of these moments of like, I'm only going to see this at Coachella. Like, this is just crazy. This is that they just happen to decide that they want to like play and walk up to their set. And I think some of my other favorite memories were like locking in for Zed's Dead. That was our last set of the weekend. The whole Rave fam came out for that, and Aid like looked at everyone. She's like, lock in, get ready. Like, we're posting up. So just like the vibe and like craziness, and like that crowd at Zed's Dead reminded me of like an EDM festival. Like, it was very Wookiee, crazy, weird energy, and it was really fun. And same thing at Chase and Status. Like, our group split up a lot because everyone had very different tastes, but there were a couple sets like the whole house came together for, and Chase and Status was another. And that was like wackadoodle hour. Like, they had brought mini squirt guns that they filled with vodka and tequila. We did not have any, but they just like roll up in the crowd, and then they just come at us with these guns filled with like tequila, and they're trying to like shoot them in our mouth, and we're like, oh, like die. And it was just so funny. Like, they just brought such good energy. And yeah, and the Galinda totem was like sending me an Aid over the edge. Honestly, Trixie Mattel's set was really funny. She was like saying like lots of funny things in the crowd. But yeah, I mean, I like walked away, and I do want to touch on it because I think we skipped this, but I think it's like important to be critical as well. There were a couple things just before we let you go of like places that Coachella could improve for 2026. And I think number one would be camping logistics, like whatever switch happened there this year. It clearly seems like they fixed it for weekend two, but just making sure that people aren't waiting in 8 to 12 hour lines with no bathrooms, like running out of gas. Like, making that a much smoother, quicker process for people is huge. And I did see some complaints, I think, about one of the Coachella glamping or like preset tent options. People said they were placed in a really rough area, that like the overhead lights were on all night, that some of them were located next to the porta potties. So it seems like they could work a little bit on the logistics and like placement of the campgrounds to make sure that people who are paying more expensive, pricing or whatever, they're just getting a good experience, and they're not leaving like, this was horrible, I wasn't able to sleep all weekend long. And the long bar lines, like Aid talked about, it would be really cool for them to separate out like cold drink lines and have just like cold beverages that are non-alcoholic as a separate line, so you're not waiting in the same line as everyone who's buying like expensive drinks and stuff like that. Do you want to hit on sound issues, Aid?
Some of the sound issues, I think, yeah, like between Dewlap and Kassar. I mean, it's just a matter of where you're placed at the stage, but same thing between when we were at Above and Beyond. You could kind of hear Green Day faintly in the background. Obviously, when there's like lower kind of like bass and mids in the music, right? You can hear far off in the distance maybe the other sound. So it just kind of depends on where you place yourself. Had we been on maybe more the right side for Above and Beyond at the outdoor stage, same thing if you were at Lab more to the left of that stage, you could hear Kassar. And even too, if you were more to the right, you might be able to hear Sahara. So there's certain things like that I think this was a new layout for that side of the festival. Between Kassar and Dewlab and switching it, and then moving Sahara, I think even a little bit more further back. So I think there's always kind of like things that they're working out and seeing. I would be curious going, if we were to go weekend two, I know that they improved like the camping logistics already. I would be curious if there would be anything else that we might notice of like, oh, they might have changed that or improved that based off of like, whatever might have happened weekend one. Like I'd actually be curious to see if there was something that got shifted or changed, that obviously people going weekend two would have no clue about, but we would like pinpoint it. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Agreed. I think a lot of like, because we had Nova Han on the previous episode, and she talked about that. Like, usually if a festival is only one weekend, like they have one shot to get it right. And like there are minor things that they might be able to fix if they notice like flow of traffic is bad or something, and they can switch it, they will. But for the most part, it's something they have to fix for the following year. So I totally agree. I think they are able to adapt and fix it for weekend 2. So weekend 2, you guys get some like improvements if things got messed up weekend 1. But yeah, there's always places where you can improve. And again, like just because we had an awesome experience, you guys might have dealt with like some issues or logistical nightmares here and there. But yeah, overall, like very successful first Coachella. I would 1000% go back. I said I put this in my top 3 of festivals now. I just really enjoyed the overall experience, variety of music, the level of like A game that all these artists really, really brought to it. And I just loved like the setting and the environment. And I felt like I got a lot out of this festival weekend and just got to go with the flow, just enjoy music. I got to eat a lot of meals, see some really cool shit. And the Airbnb was just a nice touch to be able to like have our little sanctuary to go back and like relax and take our time. I never felt rushed in the morning when we were like getting ready to go over the festival. I feel like Aid and I had a lot of time to like eat, get ready, chill, shoot our content, get over to the festival. Yeah, I think the roughest parts for me were just the heat and the dust, pretty much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final
Kind
thoughts
of
for you?
Yeah, it was a great festival to come back to. I was also just laughing because we did experience our first earthquake
Oh shit,
when
I
we were
forgot.
yeah, I forgot about that when we were waking up on that Monday. Like there was like my phone started like buzzing and I was like, who is calling me? Like I'm sleeping. Like who got through my do not disturb? And it was an emergency alert for an earthquake. So that was funny to wake up to as we were recovering. But no, final thoughts, like it was truly so special to come back to Coachella. Like Coachella 2017 was the whole reason I started my platform because I learned a lot in that first time going to Coachella that I wanted to put my tips somewhere. And even too, it was now cool coming back and just seeing how much has changed, how much has grown with this festival. And I've always had nothing but respect and love for Coachella since then because I just knew it was such a well run festival after all of the 59 other festivals I've gone to in my
Mm-hmm.
festival career that it felt really cool to come back to it and still have that same love and even more. I'm like, they could never make me hate you, Coachella. Like,
Yeah.
the day 2 that Emma and I experienced, we were like, we don't even know how to begin to describe this to people with all the things we experienced and witnessed just in a singular festival day
So
was
fun.
just insane and so fun. And yeah, I'll always have that love for Coachella. I definitely will be back again if the stars align and it happens next year, great. But yeah, I went way too long not going back to Coachella, and that will not happen again. I will definitely
Mm-hmm.
make it a point to always kind of return to this festival in some way. So yeah, it was definitely perfect full circle, and this kind of like kicked off my festival season, but I won't be going to anything until Arc Music Festival. And so I think I feel really full and content after that it's like, okay, I went to Miami Music Week, I went to Coachella, I feel good going
Mm-hmm.
into the summer. And I look forward to Arc, but it's a nice feeling when you feel so fulfilled after a music festival like that.
100%. Yeah, I could not agree more. Agree more. We have all those butterflies this whole week of like, oh wow, I like really really miss it, and I'm surprised. I just didn't know if it would be that up there, and it was just like one of my favorite festival weekends ever. And like, despite things going wrong or like having there's always going to be things that come up at festivals, but yeah, I agree. And I think if you're a dance music fan listening, being like, is it worth it for me? I'm only going to go to those stages. I don't know. Like that's kind of how I felt, but I will say it was totally worth it. And it was nice to have other variety of music to actually like take a break and go check out amongst like all the other art and everything else that you could experience there. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. And we forgot to mention, definitely just be wary of traffic on the way home too. We left at like 2 p.m. on Monday and it took us almost 5 hours to get back to LAX. So I have like hashtag no regrets about moving my flight to Tuesday morning. That was definitely the move. I think you will be really stressed out trying to get back to LAX on Monday if that is when your flight is, or I would leave like way early on Monday because we were taking our sweet time. So just be cognizant of traffic going to and from the area. But yay, thank you guys so much. This was so awesome. Aid, thank you for lending your voice. Can you plug again where everybody can connect with you?
Yes, and thanks for having me. This was so fun to do because it's been so long. And yeah, it's also just very synchronistic, I think, of our friendship being able to do this
Mm-hmm.
together. Where to find me? At Vibe with Aid on everything: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, like, I don't know, all the places. And then I have my YouTube channel where, I know Emma's going to have her YouTube vlogs, but I'll also have my YouTube vlogs as well. If you want to watch our Coachella experiences unfold from both of our perspectives, which I always think is so funny between
100%.
what we record and what we document. But yeah, that's all the places you can find me. And then if you're interested in, life coaching of some sort, learning more about yourself and just developing a better relationship with yourself, your habits, and maybe you have some goals you want to hit, then you can hit me up as your life coach. And you can learn more about that at findyourvibecoaching.com.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much. You can connect with us at Rave Culture Cast on all of the platforms. And then, yeah, check out all of Aid's stuff. I will link it all down below. My profile is at Emma Capotis. If you guys want to follow my personal stuff, Coachella vlogs will be rolling out very soon. So definitely go watch it so you guys can see everything we were talking about. Love you. Appreciate you being here. And I'll see you in a new episode. Bye, guys.